Shalom, shalom, brothers of the hopeful elect, reporting to you guys on live today, this lovely Friday, man. Sabbath rolling in, right? For the Saturday Sabbath keeper Shabbat Shalom. Hope you guys had a good week. If not, this is time to hit the reset button, and to hopefully propel you into a better week coming up. First and foremost, we want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do so by his only begotten Son, who is an instrument of the salvation for our nation, right? And we look to him for everything, you know what I'm saying, to give us strength. And we're going to be going over that today. The title of this lesson today is called, Is This Hard for You? Right? Is this hard for you? This being, um, you know, the Lord's will. Is the Lord's will hard for you, right? This was kind of sparked from a conversation we had a couple weeks ago, right? And I know brothers have their own opinions and feelings, but it was a simple statement that triggered me to do this video, and it was, man, it shouldn't be hard to do the right thing, right? Especially when you come into this truth, right? Maybe when you out in the world, but when we come into this truth and we say that we possess the power that the Most High God has bestowed upon us, we're princes with the power, princes of the power, right? That power should enable us to do the right thing easily, right? I'm gonna share my screen real quick, and then we're gonna get into some scriptures. Let me see this. I'm about to go improv because I just said something, and it brought a precept to my mind, right? This was going to be our first precept. We're going to come back to it's going to be our second precept, right? Let me see. Bear with me. Right there. Let's go to Second Corinthians. Still in Second Corinthians, dude. Right? One chapter before it. This goes 12, chapter 12, and verse number 9. Right? Because I said, man, the Most High has bestowed power upon us, right? We're princes of the power, all of us, right? And this is what it helps us to do. Somebody can read this for me.
2 Corinthians 12 and 9, and it says, And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me.
Right, man. Um, for my strength is made perfect in weakness, right? This is Christ speaking, saying that the strength that he gives to us is made perfect even in his weakness, right? Because I'm not saying brothers and sisters won't get tempted. I'm not. We all know Christ was tempted, right? I'm not saying brothers and sisters might have premeditated thoughts and afterthoughts, right? But what I'm saying is that spirit of Christ, when it comes over you, it gives you a sense of strength or power. In the NIV, it says power instead of strength, right? Because he has bestowed that power upon us, right? Let me go to 13 and 5 now, right? What I originally wanted to start with, right? This is the question you might want to ask yourselves, right? Brother could read that for me.
2 Corinthians 13 and 5. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates.
Right. And we brought this out not too long ago. And this is a staple precept, right? But the question you might want to ask yourself, everyone, is am I in the faith? Because that faith is what's gonna bring that power over your life to make this decision easy for you, and make this truth not hard for you, right? It says prove your own selves. It's talking about proving yourselves. You always got to kind of test yourself along the way, because you never know, you might be growing or you might be backtracking, right? It's important to know where you are at individually. It says, know ye not your own selves, how that Christ is in you, except you be reprobates, right? If you don't know, if you can't realize and know that Christ is in you and he's operating through you, right? You would be considered a reprobate if you don't know how to tap into the power that Christ has given you, right? Because that power that Christ has given you, we all know Philippians 4:13, right? We can do all things through Christ, which strengthens us, right? So if you can tap into Christ, this stuff shouldn't be hard for you at all, unless you are a reprobate. But examine yourselves, man. Make sure you're in the faith of Christ. Examine yourself. Let's see. A lot of times we examine other people, but sometimes we don't examine ourselves. And we went over that not too long ago as well. Let's go to 1 John. 1 John 5. And 3.
This is 1 John 5:3, and it reads, "For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous."
His commandments are not grievous, right? It doesn't say his commandments shouldn't be grievous, right? It's letting us know that they're not grievous, right? And so with that, anything that's not grievous should not be hard to do. You see what I'm saying? If something is grievous, it is hard to do. So he's letting us know that these things should not be hard to do. We vaguely talked about, becoming a new creature and things like this in our conversation. And we're not going to really get into that. But what it really means to be a new creature is that you're not your old self no more. The bad habits and things that you used to do, right? You should no longer have the desires to do that. And I understand people are at different stages in their own walks, right? Matter of fact, let's get this real quick. And as I'm going, man, scriptures are just popping in my head, and they're not on the list that I have already. But let me see. Let's go to Philippians real quick. Philippians 2:12. Because at the end of the day, man, it's all personal, right? Philippians 2:12.
Philippians chapter 2 and verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
Right, with fear and trembling, man, because we all might be at different places in our walks, right? So we might not be there yet. It might still be hard for you, right? What do we do with that, Ashton? Because you're saying it shouldn't be hard. What I'm saying is this: if it's hard for you still, you still got to chip away at your old man, right? If it's hard for you, if we've all heard them gospel songs, man. They always sing stuff like I don't go where I used to go, I don't talk how I used to talk, right? We always preach it as it's not a 360, it's a 180, right? And we say you got to be born again, right? You're a new creature, you're a new person, especially when you're supposed to come into this truth. So if you find yourself in this truth and you're still battling the old man, this is a sign for you. If it's still hard for you, it's a sign for you to go back to the drawing board and chip away at some of those demons. Focus in on some of those demons, like really hone in on them, right? And try to get them ridded up out of here. How do you do that? Fasting, praying, meditation. You see what I'm saying? But we can't ignore them, and we can't make excuses for them to stick around. Some people will say, and it's funny, man, because some of us will say stuff like, it's an everyday battle, I'm just human. And we are, but just like we tell people on the street all the time, when we bring out we made haste and delayed not to keep the commandments, right? That's what we have to do. So when we see a weakness in our members, we got to cut it off, right? Christ spoke on this. He said, if your right hand offends you, to cut it off, or it's better for you to go into the kingdom of God without a hand. It says, if your eyes offend you, pluck them out. It's better for you to enter into the kingdom of God blind, right, than not at all. See what I'm saying? So we have to pinpoint these areas in our lives that may seem hard for us. It's keeping us away from the non-grievousness that Christ has brought to perfect us in our faith, because it should not be hard for us to be in this truth. It should not be hard for us to do the right thing, right? If I had to rename this lesson, it would be like, hey, it's not hard to do the right thing. Off rip. If you're honest with yourself and you say, man, sometimes it is hard to do the right thing. Again, that's where you examine yourself. You know what I'm saying? And ask yourself, why am I saying it's hard to do the right thing? Should it be hard to do the right thing? Because over and over again, the Most High has let us know that these things should not be grievous and they shouldn't be hard. Right? Let's go to Romans real quick. I think that's where I want. Romans 12:2.
The brother B Moore, he says Sirach 1:21.
I'm gonna get that for him real quick.
That brings me to mind too. We talked about guilt and conviction not too long ago. Is this hard for you? A lot of times it's hard for people because they feel guilty of what they do, but they don't have a conviction to do the right thing. When we look at 2nd Maccabees, right, and we see the chapter 7 and the sons that were dying, right, for the Lord, it was easy for them because they were already convicted that they weren't going to sin against God, right? It was easy for them, right? Now, when we say it's easy, we just mean like we have our mind made up. It's a no-brainer. Now, it's hard to go through physical events, right, that may be tough and counted as suffering, right? But it's easy for us to make the decision to do the right thing. That's what we're talking about. So like, you got to have the conviction to say, you know what, I'm not doing that because, that's sinning against my God. And once you come to that standpoint, right, that the enemy can throw anything at you and you're going to do the right thing and you're going to endure the suffering, endure the heartache and the pain that it may come with, right? I believe 1 Peter says, what benefit is there if you suffer for when you do wrong? He said, but there's great benefit for when you do right and you have to suffer for it. So when you do right, it should be easy for us to do right. And it should be easy for us to accept the fact that we're going to be treated unjustly right now, because this is not the land of our rest, right? So I yield with that.
It was an easy thing for the 3 Hebrew boys, right, to get thrown into the furnace. It was an easy decision for them, right? Fear and trembling, motivation to stay obedient and avoid sin, right? It's a good parallel, good precept upon precept right there for what we're about to read, right? But the 3 Hebrew boys, man, it was an easy decision for them, whether we live or we die. It's an easy decision for them. It was an easy decision for that mother and her 7 sons, right? It was an easy decision for them. Even after seeing one by one what could happen to them or what worst thing could happen to them, right? It was an easy decision for, I forgot the elder's name?
Eleazar.
Eleazar. It was an easy decision for Eleazar, right? Even in his old age, it should be an easy decision for you, right? Because a lot of times the stuff that we have to deny and the stuff that the wicked imaginations that we have to cast down, a lot of times it doesn't come with the judgment that these brothers and sisters face. A lot of times we are fighting ourselves, right? Because a lot of times all we gotta say when we say no to what that thought or whatever, right? A lot of times if we say no, nothing comes of it, right?
You know,
Butchered, right? But what it is we fight against our flesh, and if you haven't beaten your flesh yet, you have work to do, especially in this truth. How can you if your flesh still wins, right, over your spirit, man? How can you say you're a new creature?
Yeah. And I was going to say too, like Luke 14 says, I believe verse 28 or 29, you can't love your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your wife, or your own self also more than you love the Most High God and his son. If you do, you can't be a disciple. And what we see nowadays, a lot of times, a lot of people forget that last thing on the list, your own self. A lot of times, you know, we make up in our mind what we're going to do. We make up in our mind our excuse. We make up in our mind our reasoning for why we're going off. And we say that the Most High is going to be merciful, right? The Most High has grace. The Most High understands my predicament. We make up in our mind to put ourselves before the commandments of God. We can't be disciples that way, right? You making it hard. You know the right answer. You know the right decision. Make the right decision. Make the right call. Because you the one, brother, that took on all them extra wives. And now you got drama in your life. You the one that did that, brother. You can't blame that on the enemy. You can't blame that on God. Right. Because I'm pretty sure there was signs. You the one that, you know, it's so many things out there that we get in the way of our own salvation. Like the brother Denal was saying, right? We just take the time and be patient, right? We can see and make the right decision. A lot of times the right decision is easy to see. We just make it hard because we battle with ourselves, our own mind, and we make up these exemptions and excuses, right? Until it just starts, you know how people say you lie to yourself enough, you start believing the lie. That's what we do to ourselves when we try to weigh out the balance a lot of times. But
man, so you know, he said something I wanted to piggyback on. I saw a video, man, and I forgot who it was. It was a celebrity, but he was saying, you know, he was saying some and you know, you got to pick out the meat, chew the meat and spit out the bone sometimes. But he said he doesn't believe in the devil. He said, man, a lot of people like to blame stuff on the devil, man. A lot of time it'd be yo black behind, right? He said he had some other choice words, but you know, he said stuff like, you know, you think it's the devil because you didn't get put on the basketball team or something like that. Nah, it was your black behind that didn't take it serious, right? And things like that, right? But nonetheless, man, we do a lot of this stuff to ourselves, you know. But going back to the main thing, right? Keeping the main thing. You know, one thing that was brought up in our conversation was, you know, in this truth, when you come into this truth, it doesn't automatically make you a new creature. It doesn't automatically give you a circumcised heart, right? And a lot of people feel as if it does, right? A circumcised heart is gonna be a heart that is a new creature. You don't think the same no more. We're gonna get that too after we read this precept for the brother. You don't do the things you do anymore. You used to do anymore, right? We got brothers and sisters, right? We got, for instance, an example. You might have brothers that struggle with sliding in girls' DMs, conversing with other brothers' wives and stuff like that. And if you just can't feel that what you're doing is wrong, or if you feel like it, or if you know it's wrong, and continue to send another text, FaceTime, all this stuff, and then it leads to adultery. If you can't cut it off at the root, right? Something's wrong. If it's hard for you to, if it's hard, the title of this lesson is it hard for you? If it's hard for you to stop texting that brother's wife, something is wrong, right? If it's hard for you to do certain things, man, something is wrong, and you really got to examine yourself whether you be in the faith, and you really got to examine yourself whether you're circumcised of the heart, whether you're a new creature or not, right? Because certain things should not be hard for you, right? Let's read this precept real quick.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 1 and verse 21. The fear of the Lord driveth away sins, and where it is present, it turneth away wrath.
Right. The fear of the Lord, man. This is wisdom, man. It driveth away sins where it is present. It turneth away wrath. Even when you're angry, it turns it away. Right. And I know it says be angry and sin not. Right. Even when you get angry, you know, you come to your senses. Right. And that thought has become an afterthought. You chose to walk in a different path. It says it drives away sin. Wisdom is going to drive away sin. It's not going to lead you to it. It's not going to have you make mishaps. If you're, it's crazy, man, because a lot of us feel like we're, teachers, and, we're important in the community for whatever reason. And you claim to have all this wisdom. You claim to have the fear of the Lord, but it's still hard for you to do righteousness. Isn't that insane? It's hard for you to do the righteous thing. That's wild to me. This is a great precept, though. Awesome precept.
While you in Ecclesiastes, you can go to Sirach chapter 5 real quick.
Come.
In verse 5. Right, it says, concerning propitiation, be not without fear to add sin unto sin. What is this saying? It's saying concerning what Christ is coming to do, concerning the grace and mercy, concerning the atonement for you. Look, do not let that be a reason for you to sin just because you believe that you're saved. You believe that you're a follower. You believe that you're a disciple or an apostle. You believe that you're an apologetic, a defender of the faith. You think that you've changed your life because of some of the news or the knowledge that you've gotten. Don't let that make you add sin to sin. All right, go to verse 6 real quick. This is the banger right here. And say not his mercy is great. He will be pacified for the multitude of my sins. For mercy and wrath come from him, and his indignation resteth upon sinners. So don't keep saying that God's mercy is going to take care of it. God's mercy covers me, and God understands my situation. And don't think that God is, you know what I'm saying? I had a conversation with the brother the other night. I think it was last night. And I was telling him, like, a lot of people, man, throw around this mercy like there's somebody important. I said, I'm not gonna lie. If we think about Judas Maccabees and stuff, like, I believe them men probably did have mercy on some stuff because they were actually using an actual sword to defend themselves. A lot of the times nowadays, the hand of the enemy that we find ourselves in is systemic oppression, right? We got to deal, and I know it can be tough, but it's nothing like running away from somebody that's trying to kill you with the sword, or charging somebody that's trying to kill you in battle with armor. Like, so I don't know why a lot of people have it in their mind that they're God's super chosen child and God's gonna always have mercy on them for whenever they break the commandments. Right? We are not nobody important. We're not important. I feel like we're not important enough right now. We're important enough for him to wake us up and for, him to give us a second chance, but we're not important enough for him to treat us like David or Moses or Noah, right? We're not that important. Them people was leading a whole nation, just one man, fighting multiple people in battle. We nowhere close to that. So stop thinking that, God got mercy on your life because he understands I'm in captivity. Stop thinking that, man.
Come on, man. Watch this. Psalms 37 and verse number 4.
Con, this is Psalms 37:4, and it says, "Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart."
Yeah, man. One thing I want to make emphasis on here, right? Is it hard for you? If something's hard for you, you probably don't find delight in doing it. If it's hard to do the right thing, you don't find delight in doing the right thing. For instance, I find delight in something I like to do. I find delight in fishing, right? It's not hard for me to go out there and cast my line because I like doing it, right? I find delight, right, in being real. Let's be real, man. I find delight at the end of the day when I can come home, right, turn the TV on, cuddle with my wife. It's not hard for me to do that. I find delight in picking my daughter up, right? It's not hard for me to do that. If something is hard for you to do, you honestly don't find delight in it. You know what I'm saying? We talk about this all the time. You don't have to force somebody or bribe somebody to do something that they love. They're just going to do it because they love to do it. Psalm says, delight yourself in the Lord. If you delight yourself in the Lord, none of this should be hard for you because you want to do it, because you love to do it. And here's a funny part. Sometimes when you're wondering why the desires of your heart aren't being aren't being fulfilled in your life, a lot of times because you don't delight in what the Lord delights in or what he wants you to delight in, right? The things that he wants you to do is hard for you. And he's like, man, if I give him what he wants, he's not even going to keep doing it because he doesn't delight in doing that. But he can reward somebody that delights in what he likes, what he wants you to do, because he knows that this person genuinely likes doing this. I know even if I give him this reward, it won't destroy his heart, right? Even if I give him this gift, it won't destroy his heart. But for some of us, if he were to give us gifts, it would destroy our hearts. Why? Because we don't delight in him, right?
I got a point too. Like, it's the song by the Temptations, man. I'm a bit super old school on occasion. Well, on more occasions than none. But I say this: it's a song by the Temptations called "Ain't Too Proud to Beg," man. And the lyrics is like, "I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. You know, if I have to beg and plead for your sympathy, I don't mind because you mean that much to me." Right? Saying that to say, when it comes to us doing the work of the Lord, we shouldn't mind, right? Because at the end of the day, like the brother said, we need to delight in doing the things that will lead to righteousness. We need to delight in doing the right thing at all times, regardless of who's watching, regardless of who's around, regardless of situation, circumstance, and regardless of the possible outcome. Like the brother Denal always says, whether we live or we die. And that's something that, brothers on the screen just try to kind of keep in mind on a day-to-day basis, because again, people forget, like when you go back into the book of Sirach, you go to chapter 2, and I always quote this scripture a lot. It says, "If my son, if thou comest to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble." People forget that when you come into this knowledge, right, you start being more aware of the commandments, being more aware of who the Israelites are, and all that knowledge and information. People forget that it's still a challenge. You forget that you still have to go through the burdens and the hardships of being in captivity, the hardships of being in a world that's full of its sin and iniquity, right? being in a society that promotes every abomination that's against the Most High God's commandments. You forget that you're going to live and be around people and grow up with people that think totally opposite than what the Most High God wants us to think. The thing is, you have to be willing to continuously, it's not even a sacrifice, because at the end of the day, the foundations from the beginning of time are what are, well, let me say it like this. It is a sacrifice to an extent because you came from doing it, right? But it shouldn't be looked at as a sacrifice. If anything, you're sacrificing what you truly want, which is the kingdom, for, I guess you could say, a moment's time of pleasure and a moment's time of, appeasement when you go against the commandments of the Lord and not do the right thing. You see what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, again, it shouldn't be hard at all, to choose the Lord over anything, regardless, again, of situation, circumstance, regardless of who may feel a certain type of way about it. I just feel like we always got to be 10 toes down, and we always got to be of a mind that, hey, I don't mind doing the work of the Lord. I don't mind, allowing the Lord to use me regardless of anything. But I yield, Slaki.
Come on, man. That's mighty, man. Example, right? The Sabbath, right? The Sabbath, you don't delight in the Sabbath. Why? What would make me think you don't delight in the Sabbath? Because to delight in the Sabbath is to delight in the reason for the Sabbath, right? It's supposed to give you rest. You shouldn't want to trade that for the world, right? But a lot of people want to trade away their Sabbath for that money. You want to trade away their Sabbath to do what they want to do, right? Go shopping. We've seen a lot of people now, right, that came into this faith, right? And it's bold now. Brothers and sisters is uploading the stories and all of that stuff. They bold with it now because you don't delight in the Sabbath. You don't delight in keeping the Sabbath. It's not special to you anymore, right? If you really delighted in it, you would take advantage of it. What do we say at the beginning of this video? And what do I say almost every time I'm about to start a lesson, right? Shabbat Shalom. I hope you had a good week. If not, it's time to hit that reset button. You should want to get to the end of the week so you can hit that reset button if you truly delight in the Sabbath. But sometimes we get in this truth, and the things that we're commanded to do are not our delight. We were talking about this earlier. Sometimes brothers have been in this truth, and fringes have become lame to them. They don't like putting them on no more because it don't really set off the fit like it used to, right? It kind of looks lame. They don't delight in wearing fringes, right? They don't delight in keeping this Sabbath day. It's lame now. It's in the way. It's an inconvenience. Boy, the Sabbath is an inconvenience, because that's what you're saying when you go to your employer and you tell them, all right, I can work. When you go to your brother or your sister and be like, yeah, I understand, man, but I got to get this money on. You see what I'm saying? When you had the ability to not to, do you really delight in these commandments that the Lord is giving us? Let's get Psalms 37 and 23, right? We're talking about being delighting, right?
Psalms 37 and 23. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way.
The steps of a what?
Of a good man
are ordered
by the Lord.
A good man, right? And I want to put emphasis on that, man, because this is talking about a man that is a new creature, a man that it's not hard for, right? Is ordered by the Lord. And this kind of goes with the precept that Brother B. Moore brought out, right? It says, and he delighteth in his way. It means that somebody's instructing you, and when he instructs you, you rock with it. I can rock with that. I can do that. I actually like that. I actually prefer that. You ever been at a job somewhere or on a team, and somebody comes to you and they tell you, hey, you got to do this or you got to do that, and they kind of give it to you like it's a bad thing, like they expecting you to like kind of nut up on them, and you're like, actually, I would prefer to do that anyway. You see what I'm saying? That's how this truth should be, right? The Lord directs you, and you should be delighted in the way that He's directing you. What's the next precept say? Watch this. I like this one.
Psalms 37:24 says, "Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand."
Right. In the NIV, it says, let me see. I had it right here, but it says something like, though he may stumble, he shall not fall. Right. And it's pretty much saying the same thing. It says, for the Lord uphold him with his right hand, he shall not utterly be cast down, even though he fall. Right. Meaning this to say, sometimes we might get that wicked thought in our mind. Sometimes we might get tempted. But with the Lord on our side, He upholds us, and with that spirit, it does what? It eschews wickedness. Like Job, right? All his days, he was a man that could eschew wickedness, and that's what it's supposed to do. So you might hit that temptation. You might get that wicked imagination, right? You might even find yourself in a predicament where you made the first step action to a wicked act, right? But you quickly should be able to realize that, notice it, and cast those wicked imaginations down.
Right. Too, I wanted to make a point. Romans 15:4 says, the things written aforetime are written for our learning. And the thing about that is this, right? A lot of people, they say, I'm not David. We're not Job. Like, those were mighty men. Those brothers were, guess what? Those things were written so that there may be in the future many Davids, many Jobs, many Noahs, right? We were supposed to read that, delight in it, and we were supposed to be transformed into those men. Right, we were supposed to be. It was not supposed to, because those men were like the only men of their generations at the time. You know what I'm saying? That were like that. But their testimonies and how they were described, a man after God's own heart, one that eschews evil and integrity never left him, perfect in his generations, things of that nature. Those things were written so that we could strive to be like them. They weren't written so that we could be like, oh man, we'll never be like that. Those men were so great. That's how people start man worshiping figures or people in the Bible, right? People, because they think it's something unattainable. But literally, we have a cheat code, right? Those men didn't have nobody to read about, right? They just happen to be like that by nature, but we have it to read about. And we have a constant reminders of how to make the right decision and what decisions to make because of that, right? But
Romans 12, since you paraphrase Romans, let's go to Romans 12.
Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Right. Is the will of God hard for you to do? Right. If so, you might not be fully conformed of that previous world, right? Your mind probably isn't all the way renewed. You might still be in that process of renewing, and that's okay. But all I'm trying to point out is you have to point that out. If you're still in the renewal process and you haven't been fully renewed, you can't say it's easy for me to do the right thing, right? You should be able to highlight that, and now you know what to work on. Because ain't nobody saying you gotta be there, right? Now that's the main goal. But this video isn't to say, hey man, if you're not there right now, you're not in the truth. This video is to help you highlight where you're at in this renewal process of your mind. And if you're not fully there yet, now you know you got work to do. Now you got to chip away at some things. Now you know it might be some areas in my life that I got to attack, right? Because with your mind being renewed, you shouldn't think about the same things used to. You shouldn't. Your thought process should be different, right? When it comes to rebuttals in conversation, when it comes to what you would do in certain situations when they pop up, you should be having different avenues than you used to. Back in the day, I would have did X, Y, and Z to them, but now I'm a new man, right? I'm I watched this TV show. I'll be watching TV shows. One of the TV shows I'm catching up on right now is The Shy, right? And if you know Emmett used to get around, right? And so they're looking for a nanny. They found a girl that might be okay. And they asked her why she stopped being a nanny for her last family. She says, because the husband made a pass at me, and when he did that, I had to leave. Emmett said, "Oh, that's not gonna be a problem from us. I'm a reformed man." Right? I think he said, "I'm a reformed nigga," right? But he said, "I'm a reformed man. It's not gonna be a problem because he's a new person." Back in the day, he would have took advantage of that, right? But now he's a reformed man. He has what? Self-control. We're gonna get into that too, right? But do not conform to this world. Matter of fact, come out of it and renew your mind, right? Let's go to Matthew real quick. I think I got like 3 precepts left. Let's go to Matthew 11 and 28.
I want to add too, on top of being reformed and being changed. People are always willing to make changes for the things they want. You know what I'm saying? Even, I guess you could say, like, materialistically in the world, carnal, I guess, in the carnal sense of things. So how much more can we change, for the sake of, the righteous things that pertain to the Lord, right? As is Psalms 37, I think, 4, which we read earlier, is the same as Matthew 6 and 33. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and its righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, right? If you really want something, man, you got to make certain changes, right? You want to get skinny, you got to diet, you got to exercise, right? You want a new house, you probably got to start saving money, you know what I'm saying, and cleaning up your credit, looking at houses, to put a down payment on something that you can afford and that you'll like. Same thing, if we want the kingdom of heaven, man, we got to change some of our ways when it comes to just mindsets in general. That's why Romans 12 is one of my favorite precepts, because again, it speaks to the truth of the matter, which is, it doesn't matter how many scriptures doesn't matter how many breakdowns, it doesn't matter how well you can give those breakdowns. We was on a lesson with our brother the other day, and he was saying, tangible judgment. We got to stop judging tangibly, in the sense of, because you see somebody wearing fringes all the time, oh, they got the knowledge and wisdom. Oh, because you see somebody giving these so eloquent breakdowns, and they're witty with their words, and they have a way with using their words, and it makes you, I guess it attracts you to them. All of a sudden, you start becoming like the brother Azrael said, a man worshiper. We got to know how to stop judging so tangibly, because again, right, it doesn't matter about all that. What matters is about how your mind has changed. And everybody can give the appearance of being a sheep, but some people inwardly are ravening wolves, So we have to make sure that we're changing our minds. Same thing is just like your heart, we have to make sure that we're working on that inward man, because I can quote a million scriptures, but if I'm secretly still struggling with simple sins or elementary sins, right? Youthful lust, like the brother Azrael like to say, it means nothing, right? But I yield.
Come on, man. That's a mighty point. It's a mighty point, man. A lot of people, and a lot of times you get caught slipping with the okie doke when you come into this truth, thinking people possess the Holy Spirit, thinking people have a renewed mind, and a lot of times they don't, right? And we're gonna get into how you can detect that, or not, right? First, let's read Matthew, though. Matthew 11.
Matthew 11:28. And it reads, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest."
Right? Christ is saying, come to me, right? This is what we talk about, man. We at the table, we also talked about what was the significance of Christ, right? What did he come to bring? He came to bring us rest, though, right? He showed us a way that doing the right thing, right, could give us rest. What's the next verse say?
Verse 29, it reads, Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls."
Right, man. So Christ promises that, following him would not be burdensome, right? That following him would be something that's rest. That, man, when you think about resting, it's not a hard thing. When you think about resting, right, your mind is clear, right? It's not, your judgment's not cloudy. You know what I'm saying? You when following Christ, the hard things are now made easy. It's a restful thing, right? Not to do wickedness. And that's the point we got to get to. I got one more precept, man. Just to let us know. Hold, let me make sure it's the last one. Yeah, we'll end with this one, right? The classic.
Man.
You said what? Oh, you was about to read. No, I ain't gone to it yet, brother.
Yeah, that's why I stopped.
You're gonna read the classic. So when it all boils down to this, right? Do you possess the spirit of the Most High? And I think this has been, it gets overlooked a lot, this precept in Galatians, because we're in a community, we're in this truth with individuals, and people don't go by this precept to know if somebody is righteous or not. A lot of times we go by views. A lot of people in this truth are kind of simple. We go by views, we go by followings, we go by charisma, we go by drip, how brothers dress, right? If it looks like brothers is having fun, right? How many wives somebody has. And we don't go by these things that are listed for us to go off of, right? These precepts were listed for us to go by because against such law there is none. What does Galatians say? Galatians 5:22.
Galatians chapter 5:22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith.
Right, man. If you have the Spirit, man, these things should be operating within you. And if you really hold to the Spirit and you possess it like you think you do, or you say you do, right, or you want to, these things should come to you easily, right? And the good thing about it is, if it doesn't, we can go to our Father in prayer and ask for these things, and He says, "Freely I give to you," right? That He never, any man that asked for Him, He never denied him, right? But He also has to know that you delight in these things, right? But love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith. How many brothers do you guys see on the streets that possess these things? Gentleness, long suffering, right? How many brothers you got some brothers that say, "Hey, we've been long suffering out here, but now it's time to get to it," right? We long suffered with you long enough. Now it's time to turn up. Brother, you're not long suffering then. Your long suffering should last throughout the whole night until you go home, brother. Right?
You should ask yourself, does long suffering have an end?
Does gentleness have an end? Right? I don't know. And look, We know there's a time and place for everything under the sun. We understand that, right? We talking about when we're going out to do the Lord's work, right? With his spirit, these are the things that should manifest, right? There's more on this though. It's about to get personal.
Galatians 5:23, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law.
Right? What is temperance? What's temperance, right? In other translations, it says self-control, right?
Controlling your temper.
There's many precepts paraphrasing, saying that a man that doesn't have self-control, man, is like a city without walls. Having self-control is something that you get when the Holy Spirit comes over you, right? You don't act out of your nature. You don't do the things out of the Spirit's nature, right? And we had this conversation in this conversation that sparked this lesson. I was talking with a brother, and we say, hey, look, you can possess the Spirit, and the Spirit can also flee from you. You see what I'm saying? Our job to try to possess it 24/7, though, right? But to do that, in order to do that, we literally have to delight in the things that it brings, right? Did any of y'all have another precept before I, make this little closing remark?
La'ah.
Brother thinking.
Nah, I will say this, and I'll yield. I'll be quick, man. Mighty lesson, but moral of the story, man. It shouldn't be hard to do what's right, because at the end of the day, nobody has trouble. Well, let me not say trouble, because that's subjective. Let me say it like this: we all pay our bills, and we know that we have to do it, right? Because why? You need a place to live, or you need a car to drive, or you need to have electricity, or you need to have water. You know what I'm saying? So the things necessary to our life in the physical, it's not hard for us to do it, And what I mean by not hard, I mean our spirit is convicted that we have to do it to obtain what we want. The same way in which our spirit should be convicted in the spiritual to do what we need to do to get to the kingdom of heaven. Because again, it's a difference between guilt and conviction. Conviction will lead you to do that thing. So we got to make sure we're doing what it takes to enter into the kingdom of heaven, which is the right thing. But Khan, I yield my lesson.
Khan, man, right? We get into conviction and guilt. We went into that last night with the brother B More, right? Something that it reminds me of is the precept where it talks about, man, there's earthly sorrow and then there's godly sorrow. That earthly sorrow is going to give you that guilt, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to be saying sorry for that same thing again, right? That godly sorrow, man, is going to lead to conviction, right? It's going to lead to the fear of the Lord, to where you turn away from doing that thing, and you making, not only are you not doing it no more, you're making an effort to get others to not do it as well. The example I always use is like somebody coming out of prison, right? You can tell he changed his life around, because not only is he not doing the same things he used to do, but now he has formed organizations for the kids to get them off the streets and stuff like that, right? He's being active in the community to the adverse of what he did, right? This is how you know somebody had a change of heart. Same thing for this truth. For the things that we left in the world, man, we got such a godly sorrow that we come in this truth and we do the adverse of that, and we be proactive and we fight against it, right? That's why brothers go out every week, street corner. You see what I'm saying? That's why brothers have lessons and stuff like that. That's why brothers work on themselves, because we don't want to be back at that place, because we delight where we are right now. We delight that the Lord has brighten our eyes, open our eyes, right, to see how we see right now. And that leads me to say this, right? A lot of people leave this truth. A lot of people leave this truth. And this is one thing I'm afraid of, right? And one thing that I can say that, I speak as a man. The Lord can have me go wherever you want to go. But I speak as a man, I could never leave this truth. I could never stop wearing fringes. Why? Because I actually delight in it. I have no other choice but to think the people that left, they did not delight in this. They said they loved the Most High. Yeah, they said they like keeping these feast days. Yeah, they say they like wearing fringes, but they found themselves not doing it no more. They didn't like it. Because when you delight in something, that means you want to do it. You love doing it. No one has to tell you to. When you in the world, bro, no one got to tell you to show up to the club. Nobody got to tell you, right, to celebrate Christmas and all this stuff. You want to celebrate Christmas. You want to celebrate Thanksgiving, right? It's not grievous to you. You delight in those things. You got the biggest smile of the year when you celebrating those things, right? When you hanging with your boys and y'all drinking and y'all fornicating and all that stuff, you delighted in that stuff. No one had to force you, right? It took the Most High to bring you up out of that. If it wasn't for the Most High, you would have never left, because that's how much you liked it. But the adverse to that, when you come into this truth, is if you really like it here, like you say you do, you wouldn't go nowhere, right? You wouldn't stop doing the things that you're doing anymore, right? You wouldn't. We wouldn't notice that. Hey, brothers kind of stopped wearing his fringes. A brother went to Starbucks out of all places on the Sabbath. You see what I'm saying? If you delight in this truth, the things that are required of us to do, the things that were meant for us to do for our good and not to be grievous, right? You would never depart from. And if I have no other choice but to think, if you departed from it, you never really loved it in the first place. You never was a new creature in the first place. Your mind was never renewed because you went back to that old man. You were still that old man this whole time. You didn't even go back to him. That was just you. You didn't even go back. You just took the facade off, took the masquerade mask off, right? And you're like, well, it is what it is. And now it never fails too, right? This is the last thing I'll say. It never fails. When you see them back in the world, boy, they happy as can be. They got a breath of fresh air. They got red. They smiling like they never smiled before. They turning up like they never. Boy, they right where they wanted to be at, because they never loved being in this truth. They never did. You know what I'm saying? But that's how you know that you're a new creature now, because it's not hard for you to do the right thing. It's easy for you to be in this truth. It's easy for you to do the stuff you want to do it. You delight in it. And that's where you got to get to. If you're not there, I encourage you, get there. That's all I got for you guys tonight.
I wanted to piggyback off you real quick. Say something super short and quick. The title of this video is this hard for you? The commandment should not be hard for you, but committing sin should be hard for you.
Right.
It should be hard for you to lie to your brother. Like, you should be battling like, I can't say that. I don't want to say that. It's a lie. It should be hard for you to commit adultery and fornication. It should be hard for you to eat pork. Like, it should be hard for you to sin, right? And if you find it to where it's easy for you to sin, you got to examine yourself.
Bro, it's easy for you to send a text message on a feast day like, hey, I'm going to miss this one, right? If it's easy for you to do that, you got some examining to do, right? You telling me a feast day that was meant for men's gladness is grievous to you? Is you don't find no delight in trying to make it there, right? We got to examine ourselves whether we be in the faith. That's it. At the end of the day, is it hard for you? If your answer is yes, right? No problem. Just get back on your job, man. Chip away. Get to where you need to be before you find yourself on the outside looking in and brothers like us on the screen talking bad about you, because that's what we gonna do, right? You leave this truth, talk bad about you till you come back, right? And hopefully when you come back, you are actually a new creature.
Brother gonna talk bad about you. I'm gonna pray for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we gonna pray. I'm gonna talk bad about you too now.
'Cause
I'm
nothing
so
else.
bad about you too.
Hey, look, I put it like this though. You know, it's the truth, man. People always gonna end up where they really want to be. You know, like our sisters in the world be saying, you know, he know where home is. You know, when they be going through, I guess you could say, strife with other women surrounding a man, they always say he know where home is, or the dudes tell the girl she know where home is, right? You got to ask yourself, if it's hard for you to do the right thing, where is your home? That's what you need to question. Where's your real home? What's your address? Where's
Right.
the address that you want to get to? Because if
That's
you don't know the address you want to get to, you're not gonna really, have no set of identity. You're not gonna gravitate to nothing. You're just gonna be
right.
like grass in the wind, going this way, going that way, all over the place.
That's a word, man. Because like, if you're really real with yourself and you say, what scenario is there? If I put myself in there, I would be delighted. I would be at rest. And if that's somewhere in the world, bro, you might want to examine yourself, bro. If you're not saying, man, if you're not closing your eyes saying, man, I can't wait for the Sabbath day, man. Sabbath day vibes be so good, man. Like, you ain't got to do nothing. Just rest and be in the Lord. Man, I love Sabbath days. If you don't feel like that, bro, right? And we're all human. You know what I'm saying? If you ever feel like that, it's your job to get back in the spirit. Point blank, period. But that's all I got, man. If the brothers don't got anything, man, I hope you guys have a wonderful Shabbat. If you do celebrate it on Saturday, and hopefully it's a reset for you guys. Whenever you take a Sabbath, whatever Sabbath you observe, hopefully it's a reset to you guys and you delight in it, right? And we see you guys next time. Hopefully we can get on tomorrow. But other than that, man, it's something for you guys to think about and a question for you to ask yourself. And be real with yourself, man. And you ain't gotta fake the funk for nobody. That's where people go wrong, is when you fake the funk. Don't fake the funk, man. Just get with the program, right? That being said, man, we say shalom. Till next time. Peace.